Okay, sorry about that. You're right, my microphone was off. I have the audio feed turned off right now because we haven't gotten to SAPA yet. Hopefully you guys can hear me. 5x5, 5x5. Guys, look at all the styles going on here. This is just awesome. Yeah, I don't have the audio directly fed into the system from the feed. So, yeah, hopefully you guys do have sound from me now. All good. Awesome. Guys, I want you to pay close attention to all the fabulous hairstyles in the house. I think it's very representative of the entire country. And wait till you see this guy here. He's got like this mushroom top haircut. It's going to be very popular next year now that it's been on television. This is, by the way, you're getting the video feed, but I'm not sending the audio directly through yet. Ron Calzone texted me and said SAPA's right around 4:30. They changed the time from 5 to 4:30.
From St. Louis City to you. I do. Proceed. How you doing, gentlemen? How do you feel about this? I don't like this bill at all. You know, you've covered a lot of the problems with me.
I don't really know what they're talking about, gang. It is interesting. They're arguing quite a bit. Oh, here's my favorite liberal right here. Carrot Top here. Last time I saw him on the floor, he was wearing 2 masks. It was awesome.
And if their budget changes, and we're not even talking it has to be a 12% decrease to police, but that's relative to other things in your budget. So if we increase
Yep. By the way, guys, Ron did have something for me here. I asked him about 1358, and he says the Dems have the Senate locked up. They're mad about things that happened yesterday, about the Second Amendment Preservation Act getting through. We're still trying, but it's not looking good. In other words, there's a filibuster going on in the Senate right now over 1358. So the Senate is totally in gridlock up until the final minute. They're not doing anything else anymore because the Democrats are pissed off about SAPA. So the anti-COVID bill, or I'm sorry, the anti-COVID tyranny bill looks like it's not making its way through. And Ron did tell me that SAPA's coming to the floor about 4:30. Liberty, I love you, man. I love you. I mean, he's like changing, his brakes out while he's listening to the podcast. He's changing oil and stuff while he's doing listening to the podcast. Yeah, they could use Rule 84. I'll tell Ron again. I'll give him in real time. Hey, Ron, have the Senate use Rule 84 on them. Period. It's time to clean the Democrats' clocks. Okay, Liberty, I just went ahead and sent the message to Ron.
This isn't the right bill. I ask people not to support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Further discussion. Gentleman from Clay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to inquire.
Yeah, do you think Parsons will pass SAPA when it hits his desk? Yes, William, I do.
Thank you, gentlemen. I applaud your effort on this bill.
Dems are so childish. Yeah, I'm glad that SAPA passed. Yep, Richard, we got to get it done in the House, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. The Senate, apparently, I'm not encouraging anyone at this point to go and check out the Senate feeds right now, the audio feeds, but apparently they're filibustering until they run out of time at 6 p.m. tonight to prevent the anti-COVID tyranny bill from going through. Hey, Craig, how's it going, buddy?
A couple of things here, just real quick. We've got language in here to help with supporting managing the details of PTSD, right?
Yeah, Liberty, it's enough to know that you're in the background there, man. Don't get motor oil all over your keyboard, dude. Trust me, I've done it once before, and it sucks to get off.
This is very similar to that, where we're going to allocate money into this fund to help first responders dealing with...
Hi, all. Thought I was blacklisted. Couldn't chat. No, Todd, you're not blacklisted. No one's blacklisted. I accidentally, by total accident, I think it might have been Liberty, I accidentally, banned him from our chat. This is a couple, 3 nights ago. It was a total accident.
Terrible mental ailments that they're struggling with. Yeah, you know, one of the things I was going to speak earlier this week.
Anyone else feel like a kid at Christmas morning? Yes, Resin. That's kind of where I'm at mentally right now, too. Hello, everybody. So has it passed yet? No, it hasn't passed yet. In a little bit here, I'll let the feed come through, the audio feed come through, but they're not actually dealing with it yet. But we should get the feed going. Ron Calzone did say that roughly 4:30 is when it looks like they'll be passing SAPA. Or I'm sorry, it'll be brought up on the House floor. I can't wait for more Democrats to come up on the feed, though, because they have some of the most interesting hairstyles I think I've seen before.
The way in which that affects our law enforcement, what they have to see, what they have to
It would have been from YouTube for what I was... Oh, okay, Todd, I didn't know.
tragic.
Okay, hopefully you're not banned from... Well, you're chatting in here, so you're good.
And this is a great way to make sure that we're keeping them healthy and letting them know that we have their backs as they have
We've
our
seen
backs.
this, you know, as you well know, the suicide rates of our law enforcement officers. Even
It's my phone. I replaced all the valves in the head while keeping up with podcasts. I love you, man. That is awesome. Let's see. I was in 30 minutes before. Okay, gotcha, Todd. Everyone like the video, please. Thank you, Resin. Yeah, let's get some likes going on here. And please share on your social media this live video. I'm going to keep it going through the House proceedings and even afterwards. Okay, thank you, American Free Press. Appreciate you, buddy. That's Alex, by the way.
How use of force is being utilized, and there's incidents that unfortunately require various levels of use of force. I can speak for the professionalism of our law enforcement. They don't want to use force. They would much rather have a
Okay,
interaction.
you all good? No title, 18 section 241 needed.
They're simply responding
Okay.
reacting to what comes at them, and that is, I think this is going to be a
Hey,
great
Craig, hopefully you could stay with us for the proceedings tonight. I think you might find it interesting.
as well as providing support.
The filibuster, Craig, that happened last night was just astoundingly, mind-numbingly boring. They were talking about picnics and bicycles and baseball games, the Democrats, where they were filibustering in the Missouri Senate.
from a lot of former law enforcement officers in here that are part of this body that they've indicated, look, the good cops don't want the bad cops. Right. And this part, despite what we
Yeah, they're arguing another bill right now, but it does have to do with law enforcement.
we can't keep tabs on those that are overstepping their power and authority. This is actually going to allow us to keep tabs on those bad cops.
You guys can hear probably a little bit of the audio here, but I'm not feeding it into the system yet. This is just coming off my microphone from my speaker.
Tabs that would ensure that we're keeping the good cops here in the state of Missouri.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, just to speak very briefly on the bill. Proceed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen, there is a lot in this bill, and I am delighted that we're at this point where we can see this.
Smoke them if you got them. Save the cigarettes. Save the menthols, Resin. Solidarity. Solidarity. Save the menthols.
Society
Need those 10 to go. Yes, I know, Todd.
keeps our society healthy. That keeps our society safe.
We're not going to be able to get rid of them, though. We'll talk about that later. American Free Press talked to me about something that I wish he didn't yet. It's great, but I didn't want to think about it too much while I was finishing up SAPA. And that's about literally changing representation in the state of Missouri so that the senators represent borders and not population. And that's the way it is with the U.S. Senate. And that's something that it needs discussion. In fact, I'm going to talk to my senator and my representative about it for next year's legislation. However, I think that's going to require a constitution change in the state of Missouri. Schatz and Rodent. So Schlitz and Rodent must go, but that'll be a recall. They're both in their final terms. So we have to do a recall to get rid of them. And we have to decide wisely what we do with what time we have. Do we promote good legislation, or do we spend our time trying to get bad people out of office? We could try to do both, but guys, I got to go back to work here when SAPA's done. I've taken an enormous amount of time away from my business, and it's probably damaged my business quite a bit. But I needed to see this through on SAPA. Okay, they've turned the mics off, so they're probably getting ready for some sort of vote or something, or some change, but
Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 99 yes, 46 no, you have moved the previous question. Gentleman from St. Charles County, you have 1 minute to close.
I close.
The gentleman from St. Charles County has renewed his motion for the adoption of Conference Committee Report number 2 for House Committee Substitute, Senate Substitute number 2 for Senate Bill 26 as amended. All those in favor vote yes, all those opposed vote no. Ms. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board.
yeah, they're voting on whatever bill it was, and it was 100 against 41 or something like that. So I don't even know what bill it was, gang. I'm just waiting for SAPA now.
Has everyone voted?
I'm going to try and run in the next few years for office. Resin, I think that's a good idea. We need good people in office. And that's a discussion that Alex and I have had. Alex and several people here locally are trying to talk me into running for an office, but I need to think real hard about that. There's a lot of reasons. There's pros and cons to it. Let's see. House seems more organized. Yeah, it's more orderly. They have different rules, too. Is the Carrot Top a rodent? Yes, he is. The Carrot Top was a rodent. Yeah, so we'll talk about him later when he comes up. He will come up later. What's up, everybody? Hey, Apex. Welcome to the house, man. The Missouri house, that is. I'll turn the audio on to the live feed here in just a little while. I'll knock out a Dem and take their spot. You mean a Dem? Dem? There you go, buddy. We appreciate what you're doing, and you'll never know how much it is appreciated. Thank you for all you do. Yes, thank you, Robin, and thank you, everyone who actually participated in this. This is, like I said, historic, and I know we're overusing that word. I should get out of the thesaurus and come up with a different word, but this is freaking historic. This is a bill that gives more rights to the people. How often do you guys see that? I mean, think about it. Whether you're in Missouri or another state, how often do you see legislature actually give you more of your rights back that have been taken away over the years? That's what you're about to witness tonight. It's setting a precedence for other states to do the same thing. What happened to the Senate, Robin, is got a text from Ron. And Ron, SAPA up next. Okay, Ron told me SAPA up next. I am switching over to the audio feed. We'll talk during breaks or something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Conference Committee report on House Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 72 as amended be adopted.
The gentleman from Douglas has moved that the Conference Committee report for House Committee Substitute Senate Bill 72 as amended be adopted. Gentleman from Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was the Missouri Foxtrotter and making the arch the official monument naming bill with 10 House bills. I'd like to see it passed. No more discussion.
Discussion. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to inquire of the gentleman from St. Louis County, Dogan District.
Gentleman from St. Louis County, yield. And do you have a clear path?
We do, and I
Proceed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Do you have your Harry Truman quotes with you?
Do I have what?
Do you have your Harry Truman quotes with you? That's what I want to talk about.
I think I might have put them away, actually.
Okay. So last time we were here, well, in this bill, we have Walthall Moore Day, which I'm ecstatic about. Well, it'll be the 100th anniversary of him being sworn in.
Wonderful.
To
fellow
this
black
chamber.
Republican.
That's right. That's right. A fellow for you, black Republican. And even though he was a Republican, I admire him, still have respect for him. Even like I think that some conservatives might have some respect and admiration for our first black president of the United States, even if they don't admit it publicly. And I won't ask you that question because
You don't have to agree with his policies to like the man.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's right. So, with that being said, just being able to connect with people on that level, some of the things that the gentleman that you were defending last time we were talking about this bill really stuck with me, because he at one point told a black woman that called into his show to take a bone out of her nose. I don't know how you could agree with a man that did that.
Why do you say I was defending him?
Yeah,
I didn't defend those comments.
Well, you started mentioning Harry Truman quotes, like because he was a Democrat, I was going to say that he wasn't. Those weren't racist statements. So it did feel like you were defending his statements.
That wasn't my intent.
And then you said, oh, since he inspired me and since he did great things, I think it's okay for people to say bad things and still be inspiring. Do you know that it was the 70s when he made some of the disparaging statements, and even up until his death? Harry Truman was born in 1880.
Sure.
So he was kind of a product of his times. Meanwhile, your gentleman that you were defending, again, I'll say defending, was making these statements after they were already known to be just disgusting.
That's a
And he did it.
mischaracterization.
Hold on.
That's a mischaracterization of what I said.
It's my inquiry, gentlemen.
Okay.
Not only did he do that, he did that to make money, which is especially disgusting. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion? Seeing none. Gentleman from Douglas, you recognize to close.
I renew my motion.
Gentleman from Douglas has renewed his motion for the adoption of a Council Commission report for House Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 72 as amended. All those in favor will vote yes. Opposed will vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. With your vote of 152 yes, 3 no, you have adopted the substitute. Gentleman from Douglas.
Mr. Speaker, I move the Conference Committee substitute for the House Committee substitute, Senate Bill 72, be truly agreed to and finally passed.
Gentleman from Douglas has moved that Conference Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 72 be truly agreed and finally passed. All those in favor will vote yes. Opposed will vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Point of personal privilege.
Proceed, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just can't let that last inquiry go, Mr. Speaker. After all the time and energy that I have spent in this building and previously denouncing racism, denouncing racists on both sides of the aisle, from the former President of the United States on down, I cannot let the insinuation go that I somehow approved of derogatory, racist, offensive comments from Mr. Limbaugh. I made that clear the other day. I'm making it clear again today. I denounced those comments. I denounced the comments from President Truman. And, Mr. Speaker, I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Has everyone voted? Gentleman from Pike, if you're in the chamber, you're required to vote. Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 153 yes, 2 no, you have truly agreed and finally passed Conference Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 72. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Standing on the same order of business, I ask you to recognize the lady from Jefferson on Senate substitute House Bill 661.
Lady from Jefferson, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House adopt Senate Substitute, Senate Committee Substitute to House Bill 661.
Lady from Jefferson has moved for the adoption of Senate Substitute Number 2, House Bill 661. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill has about 22 different pieces of House legislation on it. It's a House bill. Very, very quickly. We have the representative from Cole, the representative from Jasper, representative from Jefferson, Ruth District, representative from Franklin, representative from Jackson, representative from Greene, representative from Dent, representative from Franklin again, representative from St. Louis County, the Murphy District, representative from Pulaski, representative from Butler, representative from Jefferson, representative from Franklin, representative from Christian, representative from New Madrid, representative from Callaway, representative from Christian, Representative St. Charles, Representative Howell, Representative Perry, Representative Jefferson, and finally a transparency piece from MoDOT. I'll take any questions. If
Discussion.
not, I would
Gentleman from St. Louis City.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To speak briefly on the bill.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, it's been a pleasure serving on transportation. The lady from Jefferson operates that committee and runs it in a first-class manner. She keeps infrastructure policy front and center. This is an excellent bill. I thank her for all her efforts and everyone else on the committee and encourage the body's complete support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For discussion, gentleman from Jefferson.
To inquire the lady from Jefferson.
So lady from Jefferson, yield.
Now I know you're the actual bill handler.
Yes.
So.
Proceed.
I will yield. Yes, sir.
So a lot of good stuff. The Senate attached a couple things, I think, to this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple good things from like Senate Bill 4
Yes.
that otherwise might have had a chance over there that they laid over.
Right, but we got it on here, so we're able to get your stuff done today.
Thank you, lady. Thank you.
Welcome.
Seeing no further discussion, lady from Jefferson, you're recognized close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just have to add that the representatives from St. Louis City, the Behringer District, asked me to point out that shared this in fiscal review. She's happy with this emissions language because it does have the clawback on it and would not cost us federal dollars. So with that, I close.
Lady from Jefferson has renewed a motion for the adoption of Senate Substitute Number 2 to House Bill 661. All those in favor will vote yes. Opposed will vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 142 yes, 9 no, you have adopted the substitute. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate substitute for Senate Committee Substitute for House Bill 661 as amended be truly agreed to and finally passed.
Lady from Jefferson has moved that Senate Substitute Number 2 for House Bill 661 be truly agreed and finally passed. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Gentleman from St. Francis, District 116, if you're in the chamber, you're required to vote. Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 130 yes, 22 no, you have truly agreed and finally passed Senate Substitute Number 2 for House Bill 661. Lady from Jefferson, you're recognized for the emergency clause.
Thank you. I move tongue-in-cheek for the emergency clause.
Lady from Jefferson has moved tongue-in-cheek for the adoption of the emergency clause. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Discussion on the emergency clause. Gentleman from Clay.
Noted. I'll be voting no.
Seeing no further discussion, Lady from Jefferson, you recognize close.
I close.
Lady from Jefferson, is there a motion tongue-in-cheek for the adoption of the emergency clause? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. Ms. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board. Tally the vote. By your vote of 5 yes, 143 no, and 1 present, you have defeated the motion for the adoption of the emergency clause. The gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Staying on that same order of business, I ask that you recognize the gentleman from Cole on Senate Bill 36.
Gentleman from Cole, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 36 be third read and passed.
Gentleman from Cole has moved for third reading passage of Senate Bill 36. Gentleman from Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the title of Senate Bill 36 be agreed to.
Gentleman from Cole has moved that the title of Senate Bill 36 be agreed to. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the title, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You have adopted the title. Gentleman from Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 36 is the same thing as my House Bill 389, and we have heard this for those of you that are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. You've heard this would be the third year. For those of you that are freshmen, you've heard it for the first time, but this is the Capitol Complex bill that I've talked about, and we've done everything over the last 3 years to bring it to this point today. We have made concessions on this. We have tried it. We put a sunset on this. We had limits as to the amount that you can contribute, put a cap on it. We've done everything we can, but the end goal of Senate Bill 36 is really to preserve the historic buildings that we've got in the Capitol Complex. We added to the Capitol Complex this year by adding the Union Hotel and the Moss House. Historic buildings to Jefferson City, and one that we can all be proud of as Missourians. I'm proud to have been sponsor this. My colleague and my good friend over on the Senate side, Senator Bernstetter, and I've been working on this for 3 years. And I just ask for your support. And with that, I'll take any questions. If not, I renew my motion.
Discussion. Lady from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To inquire of the bill handler, please.
Gentleman from Cole, yield.
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, lady.
All right, so this Senate bill came through emerging issues, and it passed out unanimously, which I think is always a good sign, because I feel like my colleagues in emerging issues always give things a very thorough vetting. So can you just share with us what you and the Senate sponsor are hoping happens if this bill does go into effect?
Yes, what I'm hoping is that there's going to be a fund that will be set up for the maintenance and the renovation of the Capitol, the Governor's Mansion, the old federal courthouse, the Supreme Court building, and the old federal, highway building, as well as the Union Hotel and the Moss House. These buildings are really in need of repair. What we've seen happen to the outside of the Capitol over the past 2 years has been remarkable. And we can be very proud of that. What we need to do on the inside of this building to make it ADA compliant, and to make it to a lot of the buildings that we have in the Capitol Complex available to all citizens, to where they're going to be able to come in and enjoy those. But I think the end goal for me as a grandfather is for me to be able to, for my grandchildren's grandchildren to be able to come into these buildings and to be able to enjoy them. And these are not just for the people in Jefferson City. These are buildings that we have that the entire state of Missouri enjoys. And unfortunately, because of COVID, when we normally have 50 to 100,000 fifth graders coming into this community to enjoy and hear the history of the building, I think that it's sad, and I hope that next year, I hope that they're going to be able to come back and resume those kind of tours that they have.
I hope so too. That's probably one thing all of us in this body can agree on, is that work was just not as much fun this year without the fourth graders coming through. I call it the fourth grade pilgrimage. It's always so much fun to meet little constituents, that's for sure.
Yes.
Well, and you mentioned that this isn't just about Jefferson City. It's not just something that local folks will enjoy or even Missourians. I've often, when I'm out talking to people, you can almost tell who the tourists are because they're kind of looking around, and I'll often say, can I help you find something? And people come to Jefferson City and come to this building from all over the country. And, so I do think that it's an investment in tourism and it's an investment in the whole region. So one of the things I was surprised by, though, is that you said that it's not just that there are a lot more things considered part of this Capitol complex than just the Capitol building. So, I think that's also important as well to recognize that, it doesn't matter how much we invest in this building if we're letting things around here kind of deteriorate. It reminds me of what happens sometimes in communities where if you let trash accumulate, then the whole neighborhood just kind of goes down. So we need to make sure we're investing in all of these historic buildings in the region as well. So, and did this bill stay clean? Pretty much, it's just focused on.
It did.
Okay.
There are no amendments on this bill. This is the clean bill.
Very good.
And so, I hope it stays that way.
I do too. You have my support, and thank you for bringing it forward.
All right,
thank you, Mr.
lady.
Speaker.
Further discussion, gentleman from St. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to speak on the bill.
Proceed.
Just a reminder on the last day of session here. Tax credits, while this one is not totally horrible, it's a smaller tax credit, and it does support government infrastructure. We're not appropriating it. But the more tax credits this body chooses to give away, the less revenue. The less revenue, that side of the aisle complains about cuts to programs. This side of the aisle increases taxes. So if you want to run on a low tax base to your Republican constituents, which we are a supermajority, I'd like to remind everybody, don't increase taxes. The gas tax, the reason we have a gas tax, because we keep giving revenue away through tax credits. So I couldn't go the last day without a reminder. This should be appropriated. We give away, I don't know, we have a $500 million. I probably need to ask the gentleman from Joplin that how much we give away. Probably $500 million. I'm sure we have unfunded liabilities through tax credits. We'll just keep adding to it. At least we'll get a nice building on this one. It is infrastructure for government. We're just not appropriating it. But maybe next year we won't raise taxes so much, Mr. Speaker. Maybe next year we won't file bills to give out more tax revenue through credits. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion, gentleman from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To quickly inquire the gentleman from Cole.
Gentleman from Cole, yield.
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Gentlemen, can you remind me how much of a tax credit? I don't remember from Ways and Means. What was the cap?
It's capped at $10 million.
How much?
$10 million.
$10 million. So I just want to remind the body and certain individuals in this body that we're okay with allowing $10 million of tax credit for buildings, yet we couldn't fund firefighters' pool. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Seeing no further discussion, gentleman from Cole, you recognize to close.
I renew my motion.
Gentleman from Cole has moved that Senate Bill 36 be truly agreed and finally passed. All those in favor will vote yes. Opposed will vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 106 yes, 48 no, and 0 present, you have truly agreed and finally passed Senate Bill 36. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Staying on the same order of business, I again ask you to recognize the lady from Jefferson on Senate Bill 5.
Lady from Jefferson, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House Committee sub for Senate Bill 5 be read third time and passed.
Lady from Jefferson has moved for third reading and passage of Senate Bill 5. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move tongue-in-cheek for the adoption of the House Committee sub for Senate Bill 5.
Lady from Jefferson has moved tongue-in-cheek for the adoption of House Committee substitute to Senate Bill 5. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the title of House Committee sub for Senate Bill 5 be agreed to.
Lady from Jefferson has moved that the title of House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 5 be agreed to. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting title, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You adopted title. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very briefly, we are stripping off the House Committee sub for this. It's not something we like to do, but I have spoken to the gentleman from St. Louis County, the Grier District, who did the House Committee sub. He is fine with us stripping that off. My original House Bill 249 was supposed to be TFP'd today in the Senate, but since the Senate is not there to TFP my House bill, we're stripping off the House Committee subs because this is my identical bill, so we can get this passed. This is a simple bill. It's just extending the sunsets for our AIM zones, for our ports. It passed already out of this body with 128 votes overwhelmingly. If there are no further questions, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion.
Seeing none.
Seeing none, Lady from Jefferson, you recognize close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move tongue-in-cheek for the adoption of House Committee sub for Senate Bill 5.
Lady from Jefferson has renewed her motion, tongue-in-cheek adoption of House Committee substitute Senate Bill 5. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. You failed to adopt the House Committee substitute. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the title for Senate Bill 5 be agreed to.
Lady from Jefferson has moved that the title of Senate Bill 5 be agreed to. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting title, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You've adopted title. Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 5 be truly agreed to and finally passed.
Discussion. Seeing none. Lady from Jefferson, you recognize to renew your motion.
I renew my motion.
Lady from Jefferson has moved that Senate Bill 5 be truly agreed and finally passed. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed, vote no. Ms. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 104 yes, 44 no, and 2 present, you have truly agreed and finally passed Senate Bill 5. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Mr. Speaker, staying on the same order of business, I ask that you recognize the gentleman from St. Charles on Conference Committee report, the House Committee substitute to Senate Bill 226.
Gentleman from St. Charles, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Conference Committee report on House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 226 as amended be adopted.
Gentleman from St. Charles move that Conference Committee report for House Committee substitute Senate Bill 226 be adopted. Gentleman from St. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 226 is a little package of small tax bills that are fairly non-controversial, just good government stuff. The base bill allows our small businesses a little more flexibility as to when they remit their sales tax, be that yearly, monthly, or weekly. It does a little fix with durable medical equipment to help some folks with brain cancer receive a much-needed deduction for their durable medical equipment. It helps our Article 14 businesses be able to deduct their business expenses like every other business in the state of Missouri. There's a provision from the lady from Wright that helps our small movie theaters recover and other entertainment venues recover from COVID by being able to retain a little bit of their sales tax proceeds. And it has the gentleman from Jefferson's provision on taxation of spoiled or stolen grocery or retail items. And that is it. If there are no questions, I would renew my motion.
Discussion. Seeing none. Gentleman from St. Charles, recognized close.
I close.
Gentleman from St. Charles has renewed his motion for the adoption of Conference Committee Report for House Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 226 as amended. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 141 yes, 1 no, and 9 present, you've adopted the Conference Committee Report. Gentleman from St. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Conference Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 226 be truly agreed to and finally passed.
Gentleman from St. Charles has moved that Conference Committee substitute for House Committee substitute Senate Bill 226 be truly agreed and finally passed. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Gentleman from St. Charles, Bill Handler District. You're leaving a little quickly. Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 142 yes, 1 no, and 8 present, you have truly agreed and finally passed Conference Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for Senate Bill 226. Gentleman from St. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of the emergency clause that I forgot about.
Gentleman from St. Charles has moved for the adoption of the emergency clause. Discussion. Gentleman from St. Charles.
The emergency clause is on the gentleman from St. Louis County's provision about the sales or the property tax rebates for shut down businesses, and we got to do that right away because they're going to be paying those soon. So that's what it's on.
Discussion. Seeing none, gentleman from St. Charles, you recognize to close.
I close.
Gentleman from St. Charles renews motion for the adoption of the emergency clause. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 140 yes, 4 no, and 7 present, you've adopted the emergency clause. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Saying the same order of business, I ask you to recognize gentleman from Christian on Senate substitute, Senate Committee substitute, to House Committee substitute, to House Bills 85 and 310.
Gentleman from Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House adopt Senate substitute for Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 85 and 310.
The gentleman from Christians move the adoption of Senate substitute, Senate Committee substitute, House Bills 85 and 310 with an emergency clause. Gentleman from Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to quickly go over some of the changes in the bill from when it left the House to the Senate. If you all recall, what we changed was we moved the penalty provision from the individual officer and placed it on the department rather than the individual officer after discussions with law enforcement. That was stayed the same in the bill. We also added provisions dealing, so the Department of Conservation came to us and said that they had some concerns with the language in there, and so we made sure that we corrected that, so that way it wouldn't affect some of the things that we do with them. So that was in there. Then we added language at the request of law enforcement, making it abundantly clear that we could accept aid from federal officials when it relates to Missouri laws. So we would be able to take aid from the feds on Missouri laws and Missouri enforcement. Then we also removed the qualified immunity language because it didn't apply any longer, since the enforcement mechanism was on the department, not the individual officer. The department doesn't have qualified immunity, so we removed that provision out of the bill. Mr. Speaker, we also added language in where it dealt with task force agreements, making sure, so addressing the concern from law enforcement, kind of about the truth in sentencing, making sure that that we were putting the bad guys away, the really bad guys, the ones that are doing drugs and human trafficking. So that language was changed to ensure that those task forces can operate. So, Mr. Speaker, we worked really hard on making these changes, making sure that law enforcement was with us on this bill. The Missouri Sheriff's Association is neutral. The FOP is, I would say, neutral. We have many sheriffs throughout the state who support this language, who support the Second Amendment, and they wanted to make sure that we got something that did support the Second Amendment while also supporting our law enforcement in the state of Missouri, and we did that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion. Gentleman from St. Louis City.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To inquire the lady from Platt.
Lady from Platt.
I yield.
Proceed.
That was kind of fun. Thank you, lady. So, you know, I've been thinking about how to talk about this one because I really hate this bill. I think it's embarrassing for our state for us to pass this bill, claiming that federal law is null and void and unconstitutional. And I thought long and hard about inquiring of a number of Republicans actually in the room who I've talked to, not at a mic, and hear them agree with me about how ridiculous this bill is and how bad it is for law enforcement, how it risks, in fact, defunding the police, as I pointed out last time on this bill, and how it's probably unconstitutional. And they've even said, you know, it's probably okay because it'll get struck down in court as unconstitutional. And then I point out, well, parts of it might not be, because they're really just penalties under state law on our police departments. And maybe they can get away with doing that. So the defunding the police part might actually not be unconstitutional. It's the part that doesn't matter at the beginning that's probably unconstitutional. But rather than calling on some of them, because some of them are people that I really deeply respect, and they're afraid to talk on this bill. They're afraid to say publicly that they oppose it, and they're afraid to vote against it. Are you afraid to vote against this bill, lady?
No, not at all.
I'm glad to hear that. Why?
I'll start by saying, as I have said to many people in the room, whether you believe me or not, I fully support the Second Amendment. And now I know that I've gotten a lot of pushback from folks in the room when I say that, because they say, well, what do you mean by that? What does fully supporting the Second Amendment mean? I think that fully supporting the Second Amendment looks different to you than it does to me. And I understand that. But what I will say is that I am the wife of an Air Force veteran who has a firearm in our home. That is something that I support. I am fine with it. I am also a member of Moms Demand Action, and I am someone who very, very strongly believes that there are common sense solutions to the gun violence epidemic that we are facing, not only in our state, but in our country, that we can get past that just makes sense. In fact, there is a Republican in this room who I respect dearly who was pushing hard a piece of legislation that would make it so domestic violence, people accused of domestic violence didn't have access to these firearms.
Which I think is something that is the case under federal law, but not state law in Missouri.
Correct.
And so this would actually declare that null and void.
Right.
And actually give that domestic abuser a defense in court, not just a defense in court. They would be able to sue a sheriff's department if that sheriff says, hey, you're not allowed to have that gun, or even just reports them to the feds for having the gun. They could actually sue the police department or the city or the county for it, right?
Right, absolutely. And frankly, what that does is I think it sends a message to our law enforcement that we don't trust their discretion in these situations.
Right.
We don't trust that they understand the risk of the folks in their community who may be struggling with something. They know those folks, right? And that's why we talk about community policing in this body and why it's so important, because you want to know the people who are struggling and you want to know how to help them and how to keep your community safe.
Agreed. You said bills that just make sense are what we ought to pass. I want to talk about some of the things in here that just don't make sense. Well, first of all, some of the changes that happened on the Senate side, I think we heard the qualified immunity language was removed. Actually, what I see is here is sovereign immunity shall not be an affirmative defense in any action pursuant to this section was added, which is interesting. I also see that any person residing in a jurisdiction that believes that someone has violated this can sue now. Not just the person that was injured, but anybody. So any person that gets up and says, I think the law enforcement's enforcing this federal law that's not state law, they can now sue.
Right.
But one of the changes that struck me the most, and I hope folks are listening to this because this is kind of shocking. We talked a lot about the $50,000 in a civil penalty that would be imposed on a political subdivision that employs an employee who enforces one of these laws. Well, the Senate actually made that $50,000 per employee hired by the political subdivision or law enforcement agency.
Wow.
Now, I think what they meant to say was per employee that committed the wrongful act, but it doesn't say that. It says per employee that they hired. Per employee hired by the political... So for every employee hired by them, they now have to pay another $50,000. Because what? One of their police officers reported to the feds that a dealer was selling guns illegally to children, which, by the way, is legal under Missouri law. Only under federal law is that illegal. Or was refusing to do background checks on people that they thought probably didn't want a background check, which is required under federal law for them to have their dealer's license. They report them. Now their city's going to have to pay, or their police department's going to have to pay millions of dollars, defunding the police as a result of them enforcing federal law of someone illegally selling guns.
Absolutely. And you're on budget, gentlemen. So could you give me a little bit more information about where police, law enforcement entities' budget actually comes from and what taxes go to that?
Local taxes mostly.
All right.
Well, and it's interesting because we just talked about a different bill that made it so that you can't reduce police budget by 12%. Well, multiple millions of dollars in a penalty is going to reduce the police department's budget by a lot more than 12% in some places.
Absolutely, but it's punitive, so it's not defunding the police, right? Is that what I'm talking about?
Well, no, the reality is, and this is what we heard from the gentleman when he brought the bill in the first place, is he's okay with defunding the police, and in fact wants to defund the police if it's for the police violating a very specific right that he wrongly believes or wrongly interprets. Okay. And that's your right to bear arms with zero limits.
Right.
He believes that if that right is infringed on, we should absolutely defund the police. But if other civil rights are violated by the police, how dare people say that they should defund the police for violating their civil rights?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of those people proposing bills like this that would defund in this significant a way. Lady, thank you for the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, to inquire of the lady from St. Louis County.
Lady from St. Louis County, do you yield?
I do, thank you.
Proceed.
Lady, I know you worked really hard on that loophole that the lady and I were talking about. Was there anything you wanted to add on this?
Well, my concern, and I think my colleagues know my sincerity with this, is that federal law already prohibits criminals convicted of misdemeanor domestic violence crimes from having guns. But we need a matching state-level law. So that's why the gentleman from St. Charles County has been working on a bill that would close that deadly domestic violence loophole that I and others, I think, unintentionally created back in 2016. I am concerned now because we don't have a matching state-level law regarding domestic violence, and now we're basically saying we're going to not follow federal law, that we are making it even more dangerous for victims who primarily are women and their children to survive at the hands of a violent abuser. And these are not just accusations. These are people in the state of Missouri right now, people convicted of domestic violence are able to get guns, and we have no way to stop them. I think that it was unintentional when we did this in 2016. And many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle were told in 2016 that we would come back and fix that deadly domestic violence loophole.
We hear that one a lot, don't we? We'll come back and fix it later.
Right, and it's now 2021.
And people keep trying, yourself and, as you said, members of the other side of the aisle.
It's bipartisan. It's a bipartisan effort because, nobody, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or no party affiliation, no one should be comfortable with guns being in the hands of someone convicted of domestic violence.
But that priority of protecting victims of domestic violence just hasn't quite made the list. Whereas penalizing a police force by millions of dollars if they enforce federal gun laws, that's the priority that's going to get across the finish line.
Obviously, I'm so disappointed. Access to a gun in a domestic violence situation makes it 5 times more likely that a woman will be killed. Between 2013 and 17, at least 183 people in Missouri were killed by intimate partner violence, guns used as the weapon of choice for domestic abusers. And every year we turn a blind eye to that.
This is not a hypothetical problem.
No. People that we love and care for are being killed at the hands of their abuser, and we seem to just look the other way, and it's shameful.
Thank you, lady. I appreciate your work on this. Maybe next year, I hope.
Not going to give up. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, to speak on the bill.
Proceed, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I'm about out of time here, or I might do some more inquiries. I know that the gentleman on the right side of the aisle that carried that bill this year wanted to say something, too. I hope he gets a chance to. But, Mr. Speaker, I chose not to inquire of my Republican colleagues that I think know better on this bill. But I got to ask them, what is the example that you want to set for your children and your grandchildren? Is it that you're afraid of how voters might respond if you vote your conscience? Is it that you're afraid to speak your mind about what you know to be true? Right now, we have seen a rise in a lot of violent crime in this state and this country. We've also seen a rise in fringe thinking. We saw an insurrection on our Capitol. Passing bills like this with unanimous support by the majority party emboldens the people with these really outside views. It gives credibility. When we know what we're saying here today is not about safety and is not constitutional, but we are giving credibility to those that claim that it is. Is that the legacy you want to leave, and is that the example you want to set for your kids? It's sure not the one I want to set for mine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion. Gentleman from Green.
Mr. Speaker, to speak on the bill.
Proceed, gentlemen.
It's an honor to be in this chamber and a sponsor of one of these bills. I didn't have the opportunity to speak on it when it was in the House before. But House Bill 310 will always be the first piece of legislation I ever filed. and how important the Second Amendment Preservation Act will prove to be. Not only does it work to preserve our Second Amendment, which is regularly misunderstood, but it also provides a roadmap for restoring federalism in these United States. Most of us in this room from across the spectrum believe we should be able to have firearms, but we disagree on who should have them. The military, police officers, sure, but to what extent should the people be able to bear arms? We also disagree on why we should have them and why we have a Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment and our right to bear arms are separate things. The right to bear arms is a natural right, older than guns themselves. It's the idea that as a person we have a right to not only protect ourselves, but those things that make us ourselves. Because I'm more than just a collection of thoughts and ideas. There's a piece of me in my home, my clothes, my physical body, and all the things I own. My property is really just an extension of my personhood. My relationships, whether with family, children, friends, are an extension of my personhood too. We all agree with this. That's why we don't tolerate things like theft, destruction of property, assault, murder, because these are obvious infringements on a human being being human. And so our right to bear arms is our right to protect those things that make us human. The Second Amendment is a bit more narrow, and I don't mean to say that it limits our right to bear arms, but it fortifies it for a very specific reason. And that reason isn't hunting or even home defense, at least not home defense from a criminal. I said our right to bear arms is our right to protect ourselves. Our Second Amendment is our right to protect ourselves from a potentially tyrannical government. The right to bear arms includes our right to protect ourselves from a number of threats, criminals, foreign invaders, even our government should the time come. Our Second Amendment was written specifically for this last reason. And there's an easy reason to explain why. Our government, so long as it remains an institution of the people, was designed to protect us from those first two threats, criminals and foreign invaders. That's why we have police forces, justice systems, and a military. But what happens when our protector becomes a threat? If that day ever comes, our Second Amendment serves as an ultimate check in our system of checks and balances. This is when I would often hear scoffs, but I'm not advocating for a revolution. I'm not advocating for insurrection. I find it to be unfortunate and lamentable that we have allowed this discussion to become a part of the fringe, even amongst those on the right, even amongst conservatives. I do want to be a student of history, though, and say as much as I admire our nation, the temptation towards tyranny is great, and it's failed good governments before. Equally important, the Second Amendment Preservation Act provides a roadmap for restoring federalism. For too long, we've fed an ever-demanding federal government, and that government has grown from a servant of the states to their master. One fundamental feature of our government is our separation of powers. This likely brings to mind our separate branches, but it should also bring to mind the separate spheres of government. The federal government does possess an authority over the states, but the states, too, possess an authority over our government in Washington. The Constitution is an example of that balance. This bill asserts the authority of both the Constitution and the states. The body should know that with this vote, we assert our authority, the people of Missouri's authority over their federal government. My hope is this is just one step towards restoring that balance. So thank you to the gentleman from Christian for his generosity in handling this legislation. Thank you to leadership for their guidance. Thank you to the senator for his diligence. And thank you to the body for their support. And lastly, I want to thank my constituents for sending me. It's my sincere hope that my service has represented you well. Thank you.
Further discussion on Senate Substitute, Senate Committee Substitute, House Committee Substitute, House Bills 85 and 310 with an emergency clause. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the previous question.
The gentleman from St. Louis County has asked that the question under immediate consideration be now put. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 108 yes, 41 no, you have moved the previous question. Gentleman from Christian, you have 1 minute to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a good bill. We are doing this bill because the Second Amendment is under attack. It's under attack by the Democrats, specifically the Biden administration, and the Democrats in Washington, telling us what the restrictions that need to be placed on the Second Amendment. Mr. Speaker, this bill is gun policy agnostic. This gun bill we are saying in our state that we know best what happens in our state rather than some federal politician from California or Illinois. Mr. Speaker, this bill, it frustrates me that we are hearing from the Democrats calling us, this is unconstitutional when they want to restrict Second Amendment rights. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the grassroots. I want to thank all the people that worked on this bill. I want to thank all of the sheriffs, everyone that helped me on this. Mr. Speaker, I close.
The gentleman from Christians moved for the adoption of Senate substitute, Senate Committee substitute, House Committee substitute, House Bills 85 and 310 with an emergency clause. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Ms. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 111 yes, 42 no, you have adopted the Senate substitute. Gentleman from Christian.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we third read and truly agree finally pass Senate substitute for Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 85 and 310.
The gentleman from Christian has moved to truly agree and finally pass Senate substitute, Senate Committee substitute, House Committee substitute, House Bills 85 and 310. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 111 yes, 42 no, you have truly agreed and finally passed Senate substitute, Senate Committee substitute, House Committee substitute, House Bills 85 and 310. Gentleman from Christian, you are recognized for the emergency clause.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the emergency clause on the entire bill to answer the gentleman from Clay's questions before he asks. It is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public safety for the citizens of the state of Missouri. We are protecting a constitutional right, and if we don't do this, we have already had threats from the Biden administration that they will restrict our rights. This is a necessary emergency clause, and I ask the body to support it.
Discussion on the emergency clause. Gentleman from Clay.
To inquire the bill sponsor.
Gentleman from Christian, do you yield?
I do.
Proceed.
So I appreciate the broad overview there to begin with, and
I was hoping we didn't have to have the discussion.
I will not miss this job next year. But I do think, this is an important one. It's an important one to both sides, and I think I think we do need to actually have a conversation about this bill, and it's a big bill, and I don't have a summary in front of me, but I think we should go through a few of these real specific pieces of this individually and talk about why there should be an emergency clause. And the part that bothered me the most from the beginning, you know, I've talked about this, is the piece about the cause of action created against law enforcement. I would be interested in hearing your perspective on why we should have an emergency clause on that piece of this.
Sure, gentlemen. Again, we have seen the Biden administration has already said that they are going to make take executive action on gun control. They are already proposing new rules, the ATF, to redefine weapons that are in current existence that will literally make thousands of Missourians illegal if that new rule goes into place by the ATF. So if our law enforcement starts enforcing that, then it absolutely is for the safety of our residents, and they should be able to take suit to protect those rights if that happens.
So the hypothetical that you and I had discussed, where you've got a joint task force with a state law enforcement agency and a federal law enforcement agency, and it turns out through the investigation that there is, you know, illegal drug running and some violation of federal gun laws that's not a violation of state gun laws. My understanding is that this bill creates a cause of action where if our state law enforcement officer, whether it be a city police officer, sheriff's deputy, highway patrolman, whatever, participates in any way in the investigation of this broader criminal coalition, that if there's federal gun laws involved, that it creates this cause of action against that individual law enforcement officer. Is that right?
Yeah, so let's be clear. So we made some changes in the bill dealing kind of with that situation. But if it is a or if it is a federal gun law that's not a state gun law, then those charges would have to be done on a state prosecution or state level. If it is a violation of Missouri law on drugs, and they also have a gun, they could take that to federal prosecution. And that was changed in the bill.
Okay, and I didn't know that, so I appreciate that. So what would be so I mean, walk me through that particular example where state law enforcement and federal law enforcement are working together. So what happens if the federal government does bring federal gun charges through this joint investigation? What's going to happen to the state police officer?
So again, if there are drugs involved, then this would that would be an exemption, I guess, where they could work with law enforcement partners in that situation.
Well, that's a meaningful change, and I appreciate that. So what's the absolute number one? So you say it's the whole bill, and I understand that, but what's the number one priority as far as a real-life application of this law, that it's going to be something we need to do right away?
Again, gentlemen, so the ATF has just published new rules dealing with, are you familiar with SBR, short barrel rifles? So they're redefining what a short barrel rifle is, and pistol braces, which thousands of Missouri hunters use right now. That is something that I'm telling you is in the safes of thousands of Missouri gun owners, and they're redefining that. And those guns will be made illegal if this new rule takes into effect, and that's a problem.
Okay, so then walk us through that then. So let's say that rule does go into effect, and I see where you're coming. Frankly, I agree with you on this limited piece of this. But what happens when the federal officer comes in here, enforces that? Is it a rule or is it a federal statute?
So that's a rule, but what it does is it makes it federal statutes apply to that weapon.
Okay, so they come in, they enforce this rule through the federal ATF or whatever.
Yep. If the ATF comes in and does that and enforces it, there's nothing that this legislation would preclude, because again, this isn't anti-sovereign. What this is it's using the anti-commandeering doctrine. I realize that there's difference between state and federal. This is using anti-commandeering doctrine, where if our resources are used, then this would apply. But if the feds come in and do that, which, they in order to enforce their laws, they use our resources, and that's what this bill is protecting.
Thank you. I appreciate the inquiry. Thank you,
gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker, to speak briefly against the emergency clause.
Proceed, gentlemen.
I get what we're doing, and frankly, I know that our voters in this state have made it loud and clear that we support the Second Amendment. I honor that. I did the guns on buses thing. I get it. This goes pretty far. I'll be voting against it. I expect it'll be a party line vote. Thank you for your time.
Further discussion on the emergency clause? Seeing none, gentleman from Christian, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I didn't do a very good job just a minute ago. I was trying to hurry. I want to thank the voters of the state of Missouri for sending a supermajority of Republicans who support the Second Amendment to this legislature and to the chamber over there. We sent this bill to the Senate in February. This was a priority for you, Mr. Speaker. And this is a priority for our chamber. It's unfortunate that the east side of this building didn't get this to us sooner. Other bills were done prior to this as priorities for them, and this should have been a priority for both sides of the chamber to get it done as quickly as possible. I want to thank every grassroots member who came up here, who knocked on doors, who sent emails, who made phone calls to work on this legislation. It is because of the grassroots and those emails that we got this bill done. If they didn't do that, we wouldn't be here right now taking this vote on this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank everyone who was involved, specifically Senator Burleson, who was amazing on this bill, and the gentleman from Green, Davidson District, Mr. Speaker, for filing this and working on this legislation with me. And then all of those that were willing, the sheriffs that were willing to actually sit down and talk about this legislation, who weren't slamming doors, who weren't throwing, for lack of a better term, temper tantrums about it, who were actually willing to sit down and work on the legislation to make it better. I just want to thank Missouri Highway Patrol, who also worked on this legislation with me. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for making this bill and Second Amendment rights a priority. And I close.
The gentleman from Christian has moved the adoption emergency clause. All those in favor will vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Members, the Speaker has a special guest. To my right and to your left is the Secretary of the great state of Missouri, Jay Ashcroft. Has everyone voted? Close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 110 yes, 43 no, you have adopted the emergency clause. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that you recognize me for a motion.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Rule 44 be suspended to allow the hearing of Senate bills for third reading, and the gentleman from St. Charles on Senate Substitute Number 2 to Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bills 51 and 42.
The gentleman from St. Louis County has moved that Rule 44 be suspended. Discussion on the gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill has been in committee but hasn't gotten out of committee for whatever reason, and here we are today. We're last day, last 50 minutes. So if we're going to hear this bill, we have to suspend 44. It's simple as that.
Discussion on the motion. Gentleman from Clay.
To inquire the motion maker.
Gentleman from St. Louis County, do you yield?
I do.
Proceed.
So I understand the procedure, but I've got to ask, when did this bill originally end up in the Rules Committee?
It was several weeks ago.
And
Hey guys. We freaking did it! We did it! Hang on one second, Jimmy D.
Shit pile of work, man.
Oh, yes, it was. Guys, this is a done deal. I poured my drink a little while ago. I want everyone to raise their glasses. Please raise your glasses. It's time. The Second Amendment Preservation Act has passed the House. The emergency clause has passed the House. It's not a law yet, but 99% of this battle is over. Raise your glasses, gentlemen. It's time to take a drink. To freedom, to liberty, and to actually having a government in a state that actually cares about the rights of the people. Here's to you, the Missouri legislature.
Except the Democrats. We hate them.
They make it fun sometimes, though, don't they, Jimmy?
Oh, come on, man. They make it boring sometimes. They're just peeing on themselves all the time.
We did it, gang. We did it. Thank you. Yeah, congratulations to all of us. And thank you again. Oh, sorry, that was a big shot. This is amazing. And I want to say again that if anyone deserves any credit at all, it's Ron Calzone. Ron, I know you probably won't watch this video, but we love you, man. And thank you very much. What you started here today, the brush fire you started in the minds of the people of Missouri, will spread to other states. We just showed them how to do it. We did it, gang.
And Jared Taylor, another one. He's been a champion.
Yep, Jared Taylor, for sure.
From the very beginning of this thing.
Yes, he has. So, guys, what you saw was absolutely historic. Let me frame this for you, for those of you who are just starting to listen in. We actually had the state of Missouri back up our Second Amendment rights to the point that we literally are saying no more to the federal government. How often do you see anything being done by any legislature, city, county, state, or federal, that actually give you your rights back? How often do you see that? And the answer is almost never. And this one was a big one. It's on the Second Amendment, gang. We got it.
Yeah, guys, let me make a suggestion to you. Each and every one of you, print off a copy of SAPA. Frame it. Sign your name at the bottom. You all had a hand in it.
You bet. You know, because at some point in time, you're going to be sitting down with your grandkids, and they're going to ask you, you know, were you there when America started taking its rights back from the federal government, when the states started saying no more to the federal government? And you'll remember at this moment when you were watching it live on the internet.
And supported it.
Yeah, and supported it and helped make it happen. And Jared, ever so correctly, said it couldn't have been done without a grassroots movement. Guys, I know what this bill was about and what we were up against, and he is right. Without this ground swelling, this grassroots movement, it would never have happened. I guarantee it. It really did take the phone calls and the emails and the visits to Jefferson City to make it happen.
I agree with that 100%. I've been there. I've pounded the pavement at Jeff City. I've spoken to those individual representatives and senators. I know how much work this has. We've been in it for 2 years, up to our eyeballs, and today is the payday.
Yep. Yeah, the Kingmaker's calling me right now. I'll call him back in a little bit. So, yeah, guys, we did it. We, honest to God, did it. Now, we still need a signature from the governor, but that's the next call to action, gang. And I'll make another video about it. And that is to call or email, and both actually, the governor's office. That's Mike Parsons. And let him know that it's a high priority for him to sign the SAPA legislation into law. Now, we have the emergency clause, and I think that means it goes into effect immediately until the governor visits the bill. Until he signs it, which continues that these rights, or until he vetoes it.
Patrick, and just for the time being here right now, I'm going to take another moment, and I just want to thank you personally for all your dedication to this, devotion, burning up your YouTube channel, which, you know, this isn't really the main topic of your YouTube channel. You have made some exceptional sacrifices, and I'm proud to call you my friend.
Hey, you bet, buddy. And you know what? If it weren't for you and David, I wouldn't even be doing this. So you guys both had a major role in this. This is, like I said, this is our moment, man. This is it. And yeah, a lot of time, effort went into this, and our good friend David didn't live long enough to see it, but he's with us. You know he is. You know, he's one of the three amigos. He always will be.
Sorry, guys, I get a little emotional.
Yeah. Well, this is a big moment. It's a big moment. So, did you get something at the grocery store to drink?
Yeah, I got my Diet Pepsi.
Ah, Diet Pepsi. Holy crap, man. I'm going to pour me another shot of tequila. So I'm going to put the phone... Yeah, I'm doing Jose Cuervo.
Well, to each his own. I'm too old for that stuff now. I'll end up with a heartburn all afternoon.
But this drink here probably be my last one for the night because I'm not much of a drinker. This one here is for Ron Calzone. That's who this one's for.
I'll drink a Diet Pepsi to that.
So if you guys have a drink available, I'd like you all to toast with me, Sir Ron Calzone, the guy who started this whole thing. Not only started it, but kept it alive for 8 years. 8 years of setbacks. 8 years of corruption within the Missouri Senate, the Missouri Sheriff's Association, Missouri governors like Jay Nixon. So this is to Ron Calzone for keeping the flame, the torch of liberty alive through all those setbacks for 8 years, not getting discouraged to the point where he throws his hands up and said, I'm done donating my time trying to make Missouri a free place. No, sir. Ron Calzone did not do that. He kept it going. Recognized by Michael Bolden at the 10th Amendment Center as a national treasure to the United States of America, Ron Calzone. This one's for you, buddy.
Hear, hear.
That's my last.
How was that, Patrick?
That's my last one. I can't do this. Holy crap. I'm not 35 anymore.
Yeah, I understand the concept. Believe me. Got to be a heartburn thing with me, man. Just, man, oh man.
Yep.
It just gets after me. So that hard liquor thing's gone now. Beer's okay, but.
Yep. So, yeah, gang. So I'll tell you what. We'll open up for discussion now. I'll call the Kingmaker back later. I don't know if he'd want to be on speakerphone on the live event anyway.
The Kingmaker?
Yeah. I shouldn't have said that. It's just someone I know locally.
Oh.
Okay. So, and I may mute the microphone and see if I'll text him real quick and see if this was something important.
Well, that's just bloody awesome, guys. Thank you for all of this. You know, we've been doing these marathon Yuba-Tubathons, and all of you guys are hanging right with us. We've been pretty much hanging right at 50 core people who make it their priority to be with us and support this and watch a democratic drivel. Oh, God, you guys. Pat yourselves on the back. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, I just texted the Kingmaker. We'll see if it's priority, something he needs right away.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a term I was familiar with, and I know you pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, please hit the thumbs up, folks. And I'm not sure how much longer we'll be continuing this. We just wanted to catch this live when it actually happened. The actual vote, the speeches, and also the dissent. Guys, notice in the House that the dissent only had this much time to talk. The rules are different in the House. So when they're... now would be a good time. I'm getting ready to leave in a bit. Okay. All right, I got to call the Kingmaker back. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to get off the phone with you, and I'm going to turn the audio back on in the live stream, but I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, we'll talk to you in a bit. Okay,
I'm
bye.
hanging up. Once again, thank you guys. We love you all.
Yep, thank you. All right, take care, Jimmy.
See ya.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you the audio from the live feed again, and I'll be back in just a little bit. I got to make a phone call.
Back in March, and it was defeated. And here we are. We did all this about the Senate can't continue to disrespect us. The Senate can't continue to walk down on us. And we're literally carrying the Senate water when it was voted out of committee. I don't know what other bill in the House has been failed in committee, and then all of a sudden we just magically re-bring it up. And it was passed yesterday, and here we are on the 14th now voting on that. Like, if we really going to be real about the process, let's keep that same energy. This bill has failed. Members of this body said this is a horrible bill. Like the lady just said, we already passed the bill. We have a good bill that we passed. This bill is bad. Let's make sure as a House members that we actually put some respect on our name when we want to talk about upholding it against the Senate. This is an opportunity right now to make sure we let the senators know that it failed, and it shouldn't magically come up because deals were made at the last hour. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, might I briefly inquire from the lady from St. Louis County Priority District.
Lady from St. Louis County, do you yield?
Sure. Thank you, Mr.
Proceed.
Speaker.
What are you thinking?
I was going to speak, but I'll go ahead and take the last few seconds here. I don't want to belabor the point about how this failed 7-3 initially and et cetera, and then actually I was going to take an inquiry to inquire of the other lady from St. Louis County on her thoughts of it. But what I will do, because we are running out of time, is keep everyone's family in this body lifted in a believer's prayer and sincerely hope that their loved ones or themselves are never in need of health care, that their doctors are not reckless or careless to where they need some kind of recourse and cannot receive it because what we're going to do in this body today. And I'm not saying that to be ugly. I'm saying that with all the Pentecostal prowess that I have within me, I am sincerely praying that not one of us or our families ever, while this is over us in this state of Missouri, need medical care, and the doctor that is serving their loved ones or themselves are reckless and does something to them, and they have no recourse because of what we're doing in this body today. Amen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment ending in .12H. It's been distributed. I move for its adoption.
The gentleman from Clay has moved to the adoption of House Amendment 1. Gentleman from Clay.
Mr. Speaker, what this amendment does, and I've got to think about a minute left, is that right? Or do I get more time?
Gentlemen, you have 5 minutes and 46 seconds left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So what this amendment does, it does 6 things, and it, I think, protects the things we want to protect, and I think it protects the people we want to protect. First of all, it bans, and you can see this, it completely bans COVID exposure causes of action. Right now, the way we've gotten this written in this bill, we've got, and I want to make sure I get this right, this section says no individual or entity engaged in businesses, services, activities, or accommodations shall be liable in any COVID-19 exposure action unless the plaintiff can prove clear and convincing evidence that the entity engaged in reckless or willful misconduct or and also that it caused personal injury. When I'm telling you what my amendment does, it creates a period. It says, no individual or entity engaged in businesses, services, activities, or accommodations shall be liable in any COVID-19 exposure action, period. We're done with it. This is very similar to the gentleman from Newton County. And it's very similar to the language you've already heard several times in this House and past. It says, period. You are done. There's no exposure lawsuits under this amendment. And every brick and mortar store that was open and trying to survive during COVID is protected from somebody walking into that place, catching COVID or not there, claiming they caught COVID there, and then suing somebody. That's gone. Our neighbors can rest at peace knowing that they will not be sued under this. The next thing that it does, and this is just as important, religious organizations, under the current bill, it says that you got to put up a sign, and that's the only way that you can waive liability, and it goes on and creates a whole bunch of requirements not to be sued. And what my amendment does is, it's your religious organization, and someone sues you because you were exposed to COVID there, there's no lawsuit. You're immune. You're safe. You can worship as you please, period. Furthermore, we've got medical liability in here. And the way that this is written, it says, no healthcare provider shall be liable, and this is on the top of page 7, no healthcare provider shall be liable in a COVID-19 medical liability action unless the plaintiff can prove reckless or willful misconduct by the healthcare provider. And the lawyers in this room know what that means. Traditionally, if someone commits an act of negligence, you can sue them. This creates blanket immunity for negligent nursing homes. Most of the beds, I believe, if not, there's a whole lot of them in this state, are owned by out-of-state corporations. So when out-of-state corporations negligently kill our grandparents and our family and friends, they're blanket immune from any responsibility. The way that I wrote mine still is a pretty high standard. If you're going to sue one of these out-of-state nursing homes, it says, instead of reckless or willful, it says, the healthcare provider failed to use that degree of care a similarly qualified healthcare provider would use in the same or similar circumstances, and that alleged harm, damage, breach, or tort resulting in personal injury was caused by the alleged failure. So you've still got to prove that this nursing home did not act with reasonable care under this language. That's traditional language. And again, we hear this all the time in this building. It is protected by the United States Constitution. You have a right to go to your peers and convince them that someone wronged you. And when we're talking about negligent nursing homes from out of state killing our grandparents, it's not unreasonable for us to go to a jury of our peers in our counties, and you're going to get it. If you're in a rural county, you're going to get a rural jury. If you're in an urban county, you're going to get an urban jury, and explain to them how you've been wronged. And like I always say, jurors are smart. They're not going to fall for something, and the standard I'm offering is still a pretty high standard. The third thing that I do here, we've got blanket immunity for people who decide to experiment in PP during COVID. If you decide you've never made masks before and you make a negligent mask, the current bill protects you. What my bill does is removes that language and holds you to the same negligent standard that anybody else that decided to make a mask or makes toxic hand sanitizer is going to be held to. Got two more things to say, and then I'll move for its adoption before I run out of time. We're the same with the product's liability. Right now, reckless or willful. So you can negligently create a product that addresses COVID issues, and there's no lawsuit. It's blanket immunity. Mine uses that same language of just regular basic care. Then the last piece of this that I think is important is the punitive damages. Let a jury decide on that. With that said, Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of this amendment.
Discussion on House Amendment 1. Gentleman from St. Charles County.
Mr. Speaker, to speak against the amendment.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, real quickly, just for the members, as you know, we're at 5:30. We make any amendments to this Senate bill, it's dead. No more COVID liability opportunity for us. We have no other vehicles to get this done. So any amendment put on this, it kills it. Secondly, thank you.
Further discussion on House Amendment 1. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the previous question.
The gentleman from St. Louis County has asked that the question under immediate consideration be now put. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 96 yes, 45 no, you have moved the previous question. Gentleman from Clay, you have 1 minute to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment offers the best of both worlds. It protects brick and mortars from baloney COVID liability lawsuits. It protects our neighbors and friends and family in nursing homes that are being treated negligently by out-of-state corporations. Mr. Speaker, I ask for 5-member standing so we can have a roll call vote, and I close.
You will have your roll call vote, gentlemen. The gentleman from Clay has renewed his motion for the adoption of House Amendment 1. A roll call has been requested. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board. Has everyone voted? Mr. Clerk, please close the board and tally the vote. By your vote of 55 yes and 94 no, you have failed to adopt House Amendment 1. Further discussion on Senate Substitute Number 2 for Senate Committee Substitute Senate Bills 51 and 42. Further discussion. Gentleman from Jefferson.
Fire the gentleman from St. Charles.
Gentleman from St. Charles County, do you yield?
I do.
There's no emergency clause on this, is there?
No, there is not.
So this bill won't take effect until August 28th.
That is correct.
There's nothing in here that allows for retroactive non-suing. So if anybody has been a bad player over the last year and a half, they could still be sued, correct?
That is correct.
And one of the
That's
other
why I wish we had passed this a lot sooner, but
we should have.
Not that it still protects bad actors. It would have protected businesses and individuals if we had passed it like we should have last year.
You know, and one other comment was made about people are pulling their loved ones out of nursing homes and they're going to go under and all this other good stuff. All I can say is good. Maybe family takes care of family again, and we get them out of some of these rat hole nursing homes that aren't taking care of our loved ones, where we've seen the neglect. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Gentleman from St. Louis County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm the previous question.
The gentleman from St. Louis County has asked that the question be now put. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please ring the bell and open the board.
Okay, gang, I should be back now. Okay, hopefully I didn't rip you away from your regularly scheduled program. Yep, sorry about that. I had to make that phone call. And but yeah, once again, absolutely historic, gang, what we just saw here in Missouri today. And, you know, God bless Missouri. God bless the people of Missouri. God bless everyone who participated in this process. And everyone who has should see by now how difficult it is actually to get something done that's good, that's actually for the people, that actually promotes liberty and freedom, because we have corruption within our Republican ranks here in the Senate. So, okay, Jimmy D, you take care, buddy. Thank you for everything you've done, Jimmy. And Jimmy's been a big part of this too. So, and the reason it was difficult is actually really, really simple. The Republicans were the problem, not the Democrats. I mean, the Democrats are so small in Missouri. There's, you know, it's 1/3 of the legislature in Missouri. The problem was the federal dollars coming in influencing things, and they were influencing Republicans, and that's through the Missouri Sheriff's Association. Have I ever heard of Revenge of the Sis? I don't think I have. Yep, we put liberty first today. That is correct. We certainly did. And, you know, like I said, I'm glad we caught all this stuff on YouTube. I'll download all these videos and make sure that they make their way to BitChute and to Odyssey/library. But if we pay attention, stay informed, hold our officials accountable, maybe we get it done better. That's correct. I think I found you through Davy Crocco. Sir Vix-a-Lot? Yeah, I've been on Davy Crocco's before. So if, you know, and if we could, you know, have these discussions, you know, which we maybe can't have in public, but if you ask me, the education system is surely to blame for a lot of the things that are wrong in society today that are reflected in a state legislature. So guns are bad, right? We're taught that. It happens in schools too. I think we can be honest about this. Guns are bad. You know, people who have guns are probably bad people because guns are bad. You know, so it's the mentality. You know, guns kill people. Why would you want guns? Well, see, that's the thing. They don't talk about your right to self-defense. They don't talk about that at all. Yeah, they throw up hunting once in a while. That's the only thing they give you. Oh, yeah, we understand why hunters want... But if you're not a hunter, why would you even want a gun? Self-defense is the primary reason for having a gun. Just like in the days of Christ, people didn't have swords so they can go and kill people. That was not the purpose for a family to have a sword. It was self-defense. It's that simple, gang. You know, or a baseball bat. You know, or, you know, an axe, a gun, whatever. So that's the purpose, gang. It's self-defense. And if you look at the education system in America today, you can easily see, yeah, Rocco is part of the community. Crocco. Yep. So you could see with the education system how liberal it is, how they actually start to beat into the kids' heads that guns are bad. And so it starts there. Well, that covers about 95% of all the kids. So through the education system, they can start moving an agenda forward, even though they know it will take generations. But that's what they do. So, you know, here in Missouri, we're a red state, but we're not just a red state, but we're a Christian state. So people have access to, you know, basically church, religion, or just kind of a religious community. And they'll see everyone around them has guns. It's just part of being in a red Christian state, especially if you're out in the country. So it's very simple math here. That's correct. The Second Amendment never had anything to do with hunting or target shooting. That's correct. But Janet Reno told all of us that it was about hunters. Remember when Janet Reno, she was the Attorney General under Bill Clinton, interpreted the Second Amendment for us. That was lovely. I just love that. And she said that the Founding Fathers put in the Second Amendment for hunters. She literally said that, gang. And I bet you if we did a long enough search, we can actually find her speech about that. For hunters. That was why the founders put in the Second Amendment. It's the dumbest thing I'd ever heard before. So, but I'll tell you what, gang, I'm thinking about wrapping it up now, and actually I'm thinking about turning in early. It's been a long week. It's actually been a long 2 weeks. And we got her done. We got it done. Hopefully we all had our drink. Actually, I'm going to do one more toast. One more. And this toast is to my wife, who has put up with me for 2 years pushing this. And she understands. She wasn't upset or angry. But for her putting up with me not being there, not mowing the lawn, not being here to do this or doing that because I was up in Jefferson City or I had to make videos about, SAPA or whatever. For her putting up with me not working as much because I needed to dedicate time to this. This is for you, sweetheart. I love you. Ugh. I can't. All right, that's definitely it. I can't do these anymore. I'm not used to this, gang. Guys, a little secret about me. I quit drinking when I was 21. It wasn't fun anymore. Okay. Alrighty, gang. Okay, Liberty sent me a tweet, so I'll go take a look here. I guess we have to have sound on because I don't have context here. Okay, yep, I don't get it without sound, but that's okay, man. We'll check that out sometime real soon. Oh, that third shot did me in. Oof. Yeah, I'm a lightweight. I'll be the first one to admit it. What's the proof on the tequila? I'll find it. Hang on. 40% by volume. Guys, I'm a lightweight. So that's just like I said, my drinking days were over when I was like 21 years old. Literally on my 21st birthday. 21st birthday, I pretty much quit drinking. But I drank pretty heavily from 16 all the way to 21. When are you starting a new channel? I'm not sure, KC Rich. Well, I've got to talk to the guys at Truth, Money, and Freedom in our Discord group and talk to them about this because it's appropriate for me to talk to them about this and find out what we're going to do. We have a list of all the good guys to thank soon. Yeah, we certainly will. Actually, I've already... yeah, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that. And thank you to all and good night. Next battle. Thank you, Todd. Did we hear from them about running for state senate? Did you hear from them about running for senate? No one's asking me to run for senate. They're asking me to run for Jared Taylor's seat, which is representative. And that's actually what that phone call was about, actually. So, yeah, 80 proof. And, hey, yeah, you see, they're all done. They're throwing papers in the air. Done for the legislative season, gang. It's over. We got SAPA done, gang. Yeah, I mean, that first one was, it went okay. It was a little shock to my system, Liberty. Second one, I was like, that's the last one I'm doing. I had to do one for my wife, though, because she has put up with me pushing SAPA, taking time off from, doing things around the house, getting things done, taking time off from work, so less money coming in, so I could actually get this done. So she deserves, a lot too. What did they say about you running for House? I'm not going to talk about it yet. There's a meeting I'm going to next week. And after that, I'll have a lot more information. And by the way, it doesn't mean I'm going to run. I'm just getting some data. I'm getting some data together. You guys have to remember, there's a lot of people in this community that hate my guts because I have stopped school bonds. I have pointed out corruption in multiple police departments and in the county and in this county as well. And I have a reputation of being a whistleblower. So I need to talk to some people and find out how much of a problem that will be. So yeah, Casey Rich, still can't believe it. Frickin' awesome. I agree, man. I'll have one more smoke with you guys, and then I'm gonna cut loose for the night. We actually did it. We actually did it, gang. And I know people have been working this longer than me, but I've been doing it for 2 years, and it was a hard fight. And it was the corrupt Republicans that made the fight so difficult. It wasn't the Democrats. They weren't a problem. The Democrats, honest to God, were not a problem in this process. We have corrupt Republicans, and I'm pretty sure it's federal money. It has something to do with federal money. But Jared Taylor, my rep, outstanding man, one heck of a fighter, and once again, a very, very important part of this. Nope, you, sir, are part of our ROTC Nation. So I'll fill you guys in after the meeting next week. I'll let you guys know. Because I'll be meeting with a bunch of folks. And then shortly after that, I'll probably, if the meeting is favorable, I'll set up a meeting with Jared, and I'll talk to him about it. Just send a message to Mark Parson. Awesome. Guys, my next video is going to be all about emailing and calling Mike Parson, the governor. It's time for him to sign this bill. And also, too, I don't know how to find it, but if you guys look up Bo Matthews, Jimmy and I yesterday morning did a 15-minute spot with him for his radio show. And it is going to be aired tomorrow morning and again on Sunday. But it's a local show to St. Louis. So look up Bo Matthews. Let's see if I can find it real quick. And see if he's got... Okay, Bo Matthews, St. Louis. Oh, you have to join LinkedIn? No, thank you. Okay, Bo Matthews. Bo Matthews, Facebook, St. Louis journalist. Okay, this is it. So, at any rate, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That's Bo Matthews. Look up Bo Matthews and see if you can find a radio show or something. But Jimmy and I were on with his show. It was a pre-recorded show, and we were talking about SAPA. So that's what we were doing, and I believe that was yesterday morning. So, at any rate, it's only a 15-minute spot, and I'll find it, and I'll find a way to record it or something, so I can bring it to you guys. 97.1 FM, that's correct, Resin. Thank you. Why don't you have a Streamlabs? Cervix-a-lot, I have heard Streamlabs before, but I don't really even know what it is. So, yeah. What's your Discord? Discord is Truth, Money, and Freedom. That's the Discord server. And actually, you'll find it down below in the links of this very video right now. It's near the bottom. So do the description section, and at the bottom of the description section, you'll find a link to our Discord server. Yes, we did pray. We did pray. We prayed a lot. And I think that's exactly how the filibuster got ended. I will talk to Eric sometime, probably in the next week, and find out exactly what happened. But it is a weird coincidence that we stopped the audio and we actually prayed together on the podcast here. And then we brought the audio back on, and it's like 3 or 4 minutes later, the filibuster just stopped. And then they went for a vote on the amendment. I mean, it was literally just like that. Is there any indications of what Parsons will do? That's a good question. We don't know. However, he did vote for SAPA as a senator. He did vote for it at that time. And this is actually a refined bill from what he voted on before. He voted on a different bill. This one's a little more refined. And we already worked with the Sheriff's Association. We worked with the sheriffs. We worked with a lot of folks on this. There's no reason for him to say no to this. Plus, also, the popularity of the bill. So we're going to kick it off by literally start emailing and calling Parsons. I don't know why I didn't think of that, LOL. Think of what, buddy? I'm just a goofy roofer, but I don't got Bitcoin, but I want to donate. Okay, Cervix a lot. We'll see what we can do. See if we can figure something out. True, we did do a prayer. We did do that prayer works. Yep, we did. We absolutely did. We did a group prayer. Because we needed a higher power to intervene to shut down the Democrats' filibuster. Parsons will do it. I think he will too. I don't think he can say no to this. It's too popular a bill. The people have spoken. And it was a true party line vote. In both the House and in the Senate. It was totally party line. So guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And get some rest. And take it easy. Oh, look in the description. Gotcha. Yeah, Parsons said he would sign it in 2020. I remember that. I don't remember him saying that in 2019, but he definitely did say that in 2020, Gabriel. I remember it, actually. Actually, I was actually at the Capitol building during that speech he made, the State of the State address, where he was talking about the Second Amendment. And he'd said that legislation was in the works and he would sign it. Okay. Hey, good night to you, Resin. Good night to you, buddy. Thank you guys for everything you have done. I can't say that enough. And we did it. We honest to God did it. And we got to get other states to do it too. I think it's incumbent upon us, because we understand the gravity of this, to actually get other states to start embracing this as well. But it's going to take education. These people don't even know this bill's on their docket. You know, like in Iowa and Minnesota, they don't even know it's on their docket. And there's no way to get it out. The media won't help them. So they don't have people like us. So they're going to need folks like us. Okay. And, all right. Thank you, everybody. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. I'll be on Truth, Money, and Freedom. May set up a different channel, may not. May keep this channel and do this. Just depends on what the admins say at Truth, Money, and Freedom on the Discord server. Because, you know, I don't do anything unilaterally. So I'm not going anywhere, so don't worry about me, gang. And I will continue reporting on this. And then we got to get the governor to sign. That's the last step. And then, you know, on to the next one. That's right. We got to start spreading freedom. It's incumbent upon us, gentlemen, to set brush fires of liberty in the hearts and the minds of other people. That's our job. Yep. Yeah, Missouri is awesome. Okay, gang. Thank you again for being with us here in this historic moment, actually all together, toasting liberty and freedom, and, of course, Ron Calzone. This wouldn't have happened without him. I've already tried reaching out to Jared from Guns and Gadgets. I'm done trying to reach out to him, by the way, Liberty. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to be crass about it. But that's a man who has really made me angry. I have tried and tried and tried to get Jared to support this movement. There's no money in it, so he's not interested, and that's a fact. Yep, call Parsons, everybody. Call this weekend. I'll do another video soon. Call and email Parsons, and I'll do a video about it, and I'll do a live again where I'm actually making the phone call on the voicemail live. So we'll get that done together so you guys can hear the way I'm leaving messages. And I'll give you a sample for email and everything. But we'll move on that this weekend. But for tonight, I'm going to get some rest. You guys all have a wonderful evening. Thank you again. You guys, you're the best. Thank you. God bless all of you. Signing out for now, but I'll see you next time.